We're going to look at a concept called factorization. Now, the beauty with multiplying is there are many different ways to do it. And to use a simple example first, if I asked the question, what is 6 times 8? And you know your 6 times table, you would tell me the answer is 48. But I can arrive at the answer by splitting my numbers into factors and multiplying them. So 6 is the same as 2 times 3. 2 and 3 are both factors of 6. And 8's factors could be 2 and 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Now if I put a multiplying sign between them, I can choose any order of putting these numbers together and multiplying them together, and I can guarantee you the answer will still be 48. So for example, let's say I want to put my 2 and 2 together first. Now remember it's multiplying, so 2 times 2 is 4, right? And then I'm left with a 3 and a 4. Okay, now let's say I choose to do my 4 times 3 first. 4 times 3 is 12 times 4. 12 times 4 is 48. So we can split numbers up into their factors, and when you multiply their factors together, you'll still get the same answer. Let me show you another example. Okay, this time, now we're using factorization in multiplication to multiply. This time if we say 4 times 8. Well, you know that 4 times 8 is 32. But if you split it into the factors, for example, 2 times 2 is the same as 4. Now these are equal. 4 and 2 times 2, which is 4, are the same amount. So it's okay to do this. And then we multiply. And let's say I split my 8 into 2 times 4, which is the same as 8. Now, because multiplying it doesn't matter which direction you multiply by, 4 times 2 is the same as 2 times 4, I can put any of those numbers in any order to multiply as I wish. So let's say I just do it in order here, and I do 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8, times 4, which is 32, which is the same here. Or I could say 2 times 2 is 4, times 4 is 16, times 2 is 32. Or I could do 4 times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. We're breaking it up into its factors. And I want you to know this so that I can explain the next step of multiplying by multiples of 10. Alright, now you know from previous work that if you multiply any number by 10, the answer will be the same number but with a 0 at the end. For example, if I say what's 432 times 10, the answer will be 4,320. Right, this is useful because if you're asked to multiply by a multiple of 10, and a multiple of 10 could be 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, etc., and we use our factorization model, it will make our multiplying easier. For example, if the question was what's 432 times 40? Well, goodness me, I don't know my 40 times table, but I can factorize, break down my 40 into 4 times 10. Right, so now all I need to do is I need to multiply my 432 by 4 and then by 10. And we know that when we multiply by 10, we just add a 0 at the end. So what I do is I put my 0 down first because I know the answer is going to have a 0 at the end when I multiply it by 10. And now I just multiply this number by 4. So I do 4 times 2, which is 8. And then 4 times 3, which is 12. And remember, I put my 1 down in the basement while I'm waiting to finish multiplying the hundreds. And then I do 4 times 4 is 16, and the one in the basement is 17. So there we have it. 40 times 432 is 17,280. And all I did was split my 40 into its factors of 4 times 10. And I just had to put my 0, that's multiplying by 10, and then multiply the number by 4, and I get my answer. You may wish to write it out as follows. 432 times 40. I put my 0 first because that's me taking care of multiplying it by 10. Remember, that's the same as 4 times 10. And multiplying this number up here by 10 would be 4,320. So I'm just putting my 0 down. And then all I've left to do is multiply my 432 by 4. And remember from a previous video, we just do 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12, but we're not finished, so the one's in the basement. 4 times 4 is 16, add on 1 is 17. And we can write it out like that. Let's do one other then. Let's do 365 times 60. Now remember, 60 is the same as 6 times 10. And when you multiply any number by 10, it ends in a 0. Now we just have to multiply by the 6. So we're going to do 6 times 5, 6 times 6, 6 times 3, and write the answer here. 6 times 5 is 30, but we're not finished. Put the 3 in the basement. 6 times 6 is 36, and the 3 in the basement is 39. Not finished yet, so. Okay, and then we're left with 6 times 3, which is 18, and the 3 in the basement, which is 21. So my answer to what is 365 times 60, the answer is 21,900.